Think about someone who once dismissed your feelings, who ridiculed your emotions, who made you feel small or unworthy. Imagine them now in a place where they feel unheard, misunderstood, or abandoned. It is in this moment that they begin to understand the truth. That pain is not abstract. That words leave scars, that actions have weight. Empathy, when given by God, is not a soft or passive thing. It is a mirror that forces a person to look at themselves fully without the filters of pride or self-righteousness. It is a justice that does not simply punish, it awakens. For some, this awakening leads to genuine change. It humbles them. It makes them more compassionate. They begin to seek forgiveness, not because they fear consequences, but because they finally understand what they have done. They no longer see their actions as mere choices, but as burdens that others have carried. For others, this awakening does not lead to repentance, but to deep discomfort. They may try to escape it, to deny it, to numb themselves to it. But once empathy has been forced upon them, they can never again pretend that their actions had no impact. And here is where the greatest truth of all emerges. Whether or not they change, their suffering is no longer yours to carry. Because when God gives them the gift of empathy, He is not just dealing with them. He is freeing you. He is showing you that you never needed revenge because justice was always unfold. He is proving to you that no action goes unseen, no pain goes unnoticed, and no wound remains unaccounted for. And in that realization, you find peace. Justice is not always about watching someone suffer. Sometimes it is about knowing that they finally understand the suffering they caused, and that in itself is enough. There is a force more powerful than punishment, more relentless than any external consequence, and more inescapable than any earthly justice. Shame. For those who have hurt others, shame is often a silent but heavy burden, one they carry even when they refuse to admit it. It lingers in the quiet moments, in the pauses between distractions, in the stillness of the night when there is nothing left to drown out the voice of their own conscience. At first, they may try to suppress it. They will justify their actions. They will blame others. They will tell themselves a story where they were the victim, where they had no choice, where their cruelty was somehow necessary. This is the easiest way to avoid accountability, to convince themselves that they did nothing wrong. But shame does not vanish simply because it is ignored. If anything, it grows heavier over time. The more they push it down, the more it presses against them. It shows up in their relationships, in their decisions, in the way they interact with the world. They may grow bitter, defensive, or angry without fully understanding why. But deep down, they know that something within them is unsettled. Something that no amount of distraction, achievement, or self-deception can erase. God does not allow shame to disappear without being confronted. It is one of His most effective tools of justice. Because while people can hide from others, while they can manipulate situations to avoid consequences, they cannot hide from themselves forever. Shame finds them in unexpected places, in a conversation that reminds them of the harm they caused, in the eyes of someone who now treats them with caution rather than trust, in the realization that they have lost something valuable, not just a relationship, but a piece of themselves. At some point, they will have to make a choice, face their shame, or be consumed by it. Some will finally acknowledge their actions. They will begin to take responsibility, not because they are forced to, but because the weight of shame has become unbearable. This is where transformation begins. This is where God's justice moves from punishment to redemption. But others will resist. They will pretend they feel nothing. They will bury their shame deeper, covering it with arrogance, cruelty, or apathy. But make no mistake, just because they do not show their suffering does not mean they do not feel it. Shame, when left unaddressed, poisons the soul. It manifests in self-destruction, in restlessness, in a constant need to prove themselves to a world that is not watching as closely as they think. And here is the part you must understand. Their shame is not yours to carry. You do not have to wait for their apology. You do not have to wait for them to break under the weight of their own guilt. God is already dealing with them. Whether they acknowledge it or not, the burden they carry is one that only He can lift, and you are free. Free to move forward without waiting for closure. Free to heal without needing validation. Free to rise above what was meant to break you because the weight of shame does not belong to you. It belongs to them, and that in itself is justice. We all live by the stories we tell ourselves. Stories shape our reality. They give meaning to our experiences, define how we see ourselves, and influence how we move through the world. But here's the thing. Stories can either heal us or trap us. And for those who have hurt others, the story they tell about themselves will determine whether they grow or remain stuck in cycles of harm. At first, they may craft a story where they are the victim. They will rewrite the past, twisting the narrative so they don't have to face the truth. The truth. Maybe they will say that you were too sensitive, that they had no choice, that they were only doing what was best for themselves. This version of their story protects them from accountability, but only for so long, because God does not allow people to live in a lie forever. At some point, life forces them to re-examine their story. They will encounter situations, people, or even quiet moments where they must ask themselves, what if I was wrong? And that question is where justice begins. Storytelling is not just about words, it is about truth. And when God begins dealing with those who have hurt you, he does so by challenging the story they have built around their actions. Maybe they meet someone who treats them the way they once treated you, and suddenly their perspective shifts. Maybe they lose something, or someone they took for granted. Artistic for the first time, they understand the weight of loss. Maybe they hear your story, truly hear it, and realize that their actions left a scar deeper than they ever imagined. These moments act as plot twists in their personal story. They force them to reconsider what they once believed about themselves and the choices they made. And once they see the truth, they cannot unsee it. Some will embrace this moment of reckoning. They will rewrite their story with honesty, taking responsibility for their actions. They will seek forgiveness, not because they want to erase their guilt, but because they finally understand the pain they caused. Others, however, will resist. They will cling to their old narrative, unwilling to face the discomfort of change. But even if they refuse to acknowledge it out loud, the truth will haunt them, because once God reveals the real story, there is no going back. And here is why this matters for you. You too have a story to tell. You are not just a character in their story. You are the author of your own. You have the power to tell your story in a way that does not make you a victim, but a survivor, a warrior, a person who is hurt, but who chose healing over bitterness. You get to decide that your pain was not the end of your story. It was the beginning of something greater. And here's the most powerful part. One day, your story may be the very thing that changes someone else's. Maybe the person who hurt you will hear your words and finally understand the impact of their act. Maybe your story will inspire someone else to break free from their own pain. Maybe, just maybe, your healing will be the evidence that no wound is too deep for redemption. Because storytelling is not just about what has happened. It is about what is still possible. And when God is the author of justice, every story finds its rightful ending and pain. When someone has hurt us deeply, there is a natural instinct to hold on to the pain, to the resentment, to the hope that one day they will feel what we felt. We want validation. We want justice. We want some kind of proof that what happened to us mattered. But here's the truth that few people want to accept. Holding on to pain does not punish the one who hurt you. It punishes you. Letting go is not about excusing what they did. It is not about pretending it didn't hurt or acting like it didn't change you. Letting go is about something much deeper. It is about reclaiming your peace. And doing that takes courage. Because letting go means stepping away from the need for closure, the desire for an apology, the expectation that the person who hurt you will ever make things right. It means realizing that you may never get the answers you want, but you can still choose to heal anyway. Why is letting go so hard? We hold on because we think our pain is the only proof that what happened was real. We fear that if we stop being angry, if we stop replaying the past, then we are letting the person who hurt us win. But here is the paradox. The real victory is in moving forward. When you let go, you are not saying, it didn't matter. You are saying, I refuse to let this define me. You are taking the power back. You are no longer tethered to what they did. You are choosing to live freely rather than letting their actions take up space in your heart and mind. How does God help us let go? Letting go is not something we do alone. It is something God empowers us to do. He reminds us that justice is His, not ours. He assures us that nothing goes unseen. He fills the empty spaces left by our pain with His love, His peace, and His strength. When we surrender our pain to God, we are not saying that what happened was okay. We are saying that we trust him to handle it better than we ever could. And the truth is, he will. What happens when you finally let go? Something incredible happens when you choose to release the weight of your past. You make room for something better. You stop waiting for people to fix what they broke. You stop wasting energy on those who never value you. You step into the life that was meant for you, one filled with peace, purpose, and freedom. And the person who hurt you, they will feel the loss. They may not show it. They may never admit it. But when someone can no longer affect you, when they realize that they no longer have control over your emotions, that is a justice they never saw coming. Letting go does not mean you lost. It means you won. Because the real strength is not in holding on. The real strength is in walking away, head held high, knowing that your future is brighter than the pain of your past. And that kind of strength, that kind of freedom, that is something no one can take from you. There comes a moment in every painful journey where we are faced with a choice. Stay in the place of hurt or rise above it. When someone has wronged us, when betrayal has left scars, when the weight of injustice feels unbearable, it is easy to believe that we are trapped. Trapped in the pain, trapped in the resentment, trapped in the never-ending cycle of replaying what was done to us. But God never leaves us in our suffering without offering a way out. He extends an invitation to rise. What does it mean to rise? What does it mean to rise? Rising does not mean ignoring the pain. It does not mean pretending that what happened did not affect you. It does not mean forcing yourself to move on before you're ready. Rising is a process, a decision, and ultimately a transformation. To rise means to refuse to be defined by what was done to you. Not their downfall, not their suffering, not their apology,